What's up, Cerebral Football fans? Listen, we're here to talk a little conspiracy, if you will, right? A little unsettledness. You know how we always want to improve the roster. And one of those things that I've seen popping up around the fan circle here has been really about the edge. Us being able to improve upon the edge, being a little concerned about losing, players like Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham and kind of what that does to the edge. And in particular, and I want to state this case because I do think there is an element of truth to the concern, which is what Sweat and what Graham gave you in particular was not only good pass rush ability, not only clutch genes per se, especially with Brandon Graham, their ability to play the run was something else. I mean, the way Brandon Graham could blow up a run play, I'm not too sure that could be replaced, to be quite honest. And then also, while Josh Sweat, I think when Josh Sweat was increasing his reps over the years, I thought sometimes when he got tired, those seemed to rear their head in run defense. But I will say when he wanted to be there in run defense, Josh Sweat does it better than most edges in the league. I mean, he's one of the better ones in the league at run defense, to be quite honest. It was a consistency thing with him, to where sometimes he got tired in games. You could kind of tell that he was letting it slip there. To be fair to Josh Sweat, I'm going to say the same to you guys. Look, run defense, good run, solid, fundamentals, get you a lot of kudos with the coaching staff. Probably keep you on certain downs and distances, right? Make sure you're not just viewed upon as being nothing more than a specialty edge rusher. It doesn't necessarily get you paid, though. You get what I'm saying? Sacks get you paid by GMs, and then run defense gets you kudos from the coaching staff. We got to keep that stuff in mind when it comes to these edge players. And they're very aware of this stuff, to be quite honest. All right. I think to peel back the onion here, the player that is of discussion today is Arnold Ebiketie. He's a guy that got drafted a couple of years ago. He's currently in Atlanta. Here's the thing, when you get to these guys like this, like Eby, when you're getting to Eby and you're talking about his potential about coming here to Philadelphia, I think what you got to realize, guys, is with a player like that, you're going to have to give something up. So I think a lot of fans have kind of looked to it like, okay, well, what kind of role would he play? My opinion, he's going to be there with Jalix Hunt, him or Jalix Hunt starting. Probably, really and honestly, they're both pretty good players. Eby's got a little bit more experience in the league. I think you probably see a pretty evenly split between those type of players. I think they're both really good and they're really solid at what they do. Eby's about 6'2", 250, but the young man's coming in with 34-inch plus arm reach. So this guy can definitely play the run. He can definitely be physical. He's definitely one of these 34 outside linebacker kind of off-ball types that can play a little bit more towards that dominant side, the right side. With that said, I think the hint here is, how do you view the guys that are on the roster currently? And the thing about Eby is that just like Jalix Hunt, just like Nolan Smith, okay, just like Josh Uche, just like Azeez Ojulari, he's a pretty good athlete. Now, he didn't do some drills when he went to the combine, because I think he was one of those guys that had like a shoulder injury or something that dinged him up, so he didn't do all the drills. But the drills that he did, compete in, he plays pretty well. I mean, Eby put up like a 38-inch broad jump, or I'm sorry, 38-inch vertical jump, not broad jump. Vertical jump, which is pretty good, especially for an edge, 250-pound guy. 38 inches, I mean, that's insane, guys. And then I think his broad jump was like 10 foot 8 inches, so doing the math here, guys, I want to say it's like a 128-inch broad jump for a 250-pound edge. That's really good. There's corners out there struggling to do that, guys, to be quite honest. He's an exceptional athlete, right? Just like Jalix Hunt is, just like all those guys we mentioned. So, in that sense, yeah, he kind of definitely fits the mold. He's a guy that makes some sense if the Eagles want to package a pick and then maybe an Azeez Ojulari, because that's the guy that most likely resembles what he is. If I had to take a guess, the way the Eagles envision it is that first line would be Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt right now, and then the second line would be behind Nolan Smith playing would probably be, in my opinion, would probably be Uche, and then behind Jalix Hunt playing would probably be Ojulari. And the reason I'm saying that is that while both of them are pretty short, they're both around 6'1", 6'2", they're both under 6'3", which, to be fair, so is Eby. He's 6'2" as well. So it's not the scouting metric things. They look for 6'3", they look for above 250, they look for over 33-inch arm reach, those things. But they're not, these aren't like rules that if you don't meet them, you don't play. So while both of these guys, Uche, Ojulari, and even Eby coming in are shorter, especially compared to a guy like Jalix Hunt, if you look at that arm reach, it tells you the story, right? I have him down as 34 and an eighth inch Arnold Eby. So Eby's got 34 and an eighth inch, and then Ojulari's 34 and a half inch in the arm reach. The only other guy on our roster that's kind of like that, that's built like that in terms of the arm reach, is Jalix Hunt, who's like 34 and, I don't know, 3/8, I think I wrote down here for Jalix Hunt. So all three of those guys over 34 inch in the arm reach. So, I mean, it kind of tells you that length that they can play with to kind of help set the edge, stuff like that. I'm concerned with all of them because Jalix Hunt's young. Even Evie, Evie was drafted, I think, back in like 22. He's still fairly young. Ojulari's a little older. I think he came in 21. No matter who's out there, I think they're all a little young, and I do worry, not necessarily about like when teams are just running inside or outside zone at you. I think those guys can get the job done with their length and their athleticism. I think what gets you in trouble is when you got things like jet motion, you got a reverse coming at you, or you got something like an end around or something like that coming at you, right? Where they're trying to test your eye discipline. I think that concerns me with those type of guys when it comes to their run fits and making sure they're. And I even saw a little of that in the preseason. I was like, ooh. OG can definitely play the run when he wants to, but yeah, he does get caught looking on some of those plays, to be quite honest. So that's probably who I would think they would be trying to replace if they went out and got an RB. I can't say his full name, guys. Ebiketie, and I know you know who I'm talking about, guys. Plays for Atlanta currently. Yeah, I mean, he's the type of prospect. I think John McMullen brought him up. I think that's where I heard it from. It makes sense. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a guy that makes a ton of sense to me. I could see the Eagles going after that. But I think the real question that has to be answered before we discuss any of these guys, and I got some other names for you. I'm going to do some more videos for you guys. I'm going to give you some names that if the Eagles are unsettled, who I think are younger guys. I'm mostly looking at guys that are coming off of, they're still on their rookie contract. So they got a year or two left on that rookie contract. Those are the dudes I think that are in play. I think those are the guys that, from a salary perspective is what they're going to do here, because I think Jalix Hunt is the long-term projection, whether he's a 50% player this year, if he's upticking over 50%. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, I think he's the long-term play, to be quite honest, with Nolan Smith, obviously. So, to me, when I'm looking at this, the first question you have to ask is the coaching staff really that unsatisfied with what we have in-house? I can't really answer that, guys. I mean, I know how we feel as a fan base, but I don't know how Vic feels behind the scenes. Then you got to get into, the coaching staff and the way the coaching staff is perceiving the situation, positional coaches, stuff like that. I don't know, guys. It's not like I'm in the room to hear or have the ability to really talk to them and get a feel for where they're at right now in terms of that. That's got to be the first question. Is like, are they really that dissatisfied, or are they really that effective with playing Azeez Ojulari in an expanded role, right? I mean, Jalix Hunt being kind of that guy, him being a young dude, and he's going to be the dude, and Ojulari probably going to get some snaps if he's here in Philly. Like, we like to rotate our edges. I wouldn't think it's crazy to suspect that Ojulari even conservatively is probably going to get between 300 to 400 snaps. Like, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, and I would probably likely guess that it might be upwards of that, just because we do like to play and rotate our edges. The only thing that could potentially affect this is also why I keep saying, like, you kind of have to ask yourself, are they that dissatisfied with the room? Is the fact that even if Patrick Johnson is added as the fifth, not a deep guy, I don't think he'd give you more than 200 snaps in a season. But, I mean, he can give you over 100 snaps in a season as an edge player. Like, he's not completely just a special teamer. Like, he's not particularly talented, but you got to add him into the equation. I think the bigger question is when Nakobe Dean comes back, with as stacked as we are, in terms of, like, stacked linebacker. Sorry, using the stacked word quite a few times there. What do you do with a Jahad Campbell? Zach Bond can come down on occasion. And we're talking handfuls of snaps, but those dudes can come down on occasion and overhang. So, like, I don't know necessarily. That's the bigger question to me. Like, when you talk about Eby and going out and getting a player like that, yeah, man, he would make the team better. I don't disagree with that. I don't know how the coaching staff feels about it in terms of it being a necessity. Like, I guess we're going to have our answer soon enough, right, guys? And, to be fair, they might ride this out for a little while, right? It's not like they have to make the move before the season starts. They can let this thing play out for a little bit and then make their decision, right? I mean, they got all the way up to the trade deadline to say, like, yeah, you know what? We do need a little bit more depth. We're not satisfied with what we're seeing so far. It's one of those processes where I want to be careful, because you could be right initially by saying that, oh, yeah, I think they're okay with their depth, but that could change by week 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Definitely could change by week 8. It's hard to say, guys. I mean, I guess we'll have to see how these guys play once they get their opportunities. If they even get their opportunities, if the trade's not made, within the next 24 hours, to be quite honest, it could potentially happen. But you get what I'm saying, guys. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here.